Hello everyone, myself Shajid Anwar and my ID is 1913539. My research topic is design and develop an automated detection of session fixation vulnerability in web application. When a user visits a website, the server assigns a unique alphanumeric session ID to that user. The session ID allows the server to identify the user and keep track of their activity on the website. Session fixation is a method for getting the visitor's session identifier or SID by pushing the visitor to the attacker's SID. When the attacker has the victim's SID, they might pretend to be the visitor. A session fixation attack that is successful could cause significant harm to both the company and individual users. The consequence may include lost business, illegal financial transactions, questionable connections, and theft of data. We suggest an automated approach for identifying session fixation vulnerabilities in web applications through the utilization of user agent. So here the problem statement is separate detection system for session fixation vulnerability already exist. However, they are not effective if the exchanging of session between two user agents is possible. And the second problem statement is by verifying the user agent with the suggested method, the session fixation attack can be reduced and more effective and the time efficient to detect session fixation vulnerability. Research gap. There are many techniques to detect session fixation vulnerability available in online, but they generate a session fixation attack and check if the attack is successful or not. But our method takes more time. Our method takes less time through verifying the user agent. The objective of the research is to identify the session fixation vulnerability and minimize the risk of broken authentication, and to reduce time detecting session fixation vulnerability, and to optimize session fixation vulnerability detection efficiency. My contribution is design an automated session fixation model and implement the model to detect the session fixation vulnerability in real world web applications. Here is my overall methodology. First, we visit a login page and then collect data from form data, and from the collected data we gather SID and modify the SID. Our modified SID will send through to different user agent, and finally we exchange the session and check they are successfully login or not. So collect and adjust data from the login form. First, we have to request a login page and analyze the HTML and grab the session data. If there is a session, there is login and password field, then we have to generate new value, or if there is not, then we have to add login data with existing data, and we have to store the modified data for further process. So testing SID acceptance. We have to request, we have to send a GET request to the URL and store session identifier or SID as a previous SID. And now we have we have to we have to set a new request. Obviously the request is a get request to the URL with crafted with our new session ID. If the session ID changed, then we store the SID, and if there is no new session ID, we have to compare the session ID, and finally we have to check the new login data, login using new session ID. So here we have to send our modified session ID. We have to log in through our new session ID, and we have to check if it successfully logged in or not, and we have to save the status. Now how to compare a session ID? As I mentioned before, we have to save all the information and all the session ID. So here we have to simply just compare those session ID. If the session ID are same, that means it's vulnerable. If the session ID is not same, that means it's secure. So how to exchange session? Here we have to swap our user agent 1 session. We have to swap between user agent 1 session and user agent 2 session ID. So if it successfully logged in, that means it's vulnerable. If not, then it's secure. So I have tested 22 websites using my model, and here is the accuracy. I got 4 true positive, that means it's vulnerable, 17 true negative, that means it's secure, and 1 false negative, that means I cannot test the website. Here is my success rate. As we can see through the pie chart, approximately 95.5% are accurate, and 4.5% are inaccurate. So a limitation, here is a limitation. As we mentioned before, we have to now analyze all the websites, and we know a different website uses a different form name for username and password field. So that's a limitation. We have to manually collect those fields name. So here is my module. I have to use beautiful soap and obviously the request the library for this module. So let's test our module. So here we can see our module are asking for the login phase URL. Here I am using DB websites for checking our module. So you have to copy the login URL, paste it and hit enter. Now we have to we have to give the username. So here is my username. Now I have to input the password. And we can see here is a problem. The website is obviously vulnerable as our module is detected, and I manually checked this, and that's 100% correct. So that's about all my research. Thank you.